The Better Business Bureau isn't a consumer watchdog.
Yet earlier this year, the Mideast terror group Hamas was listed as a member and received an A- rating.
It's a business league promoting business interest.
I mean, this is like the mob. You know, the mob going to a business saying, hey, pay us a little money, we'll make sure you're okay.
Better Business Bureau has been a trusted name for over 100 years. But behind that reputation is a history of controversy and scandal. To this day, there are misconceptions about how the BBB works and who it works for. So today, we're going to get into all of it. At the end, we'll try to answer a tough question. Can you trust the Better Business Bureau? Let's start at the beginning. The BBB was created in 1912 by a group of advertising executives. You know, the guys who sell cigarettes.
But everybody else's tobacco is toasted.
No, everybody else's tobacco is poisonous. Lucky Strikes is toasted.
Well, not those guys exactly. One of the founders' members was Samuel Dobbs, a sales manager at Coca-Cola. He started to speak out after hearing company lawyer says that's all advertising is exaggerated and nobody believes it. Dobbs and other ad men wanted to keep scammers from giving their industry a bad name. So they created a set of standards for advertising. The National Vigilance Committee was founded to enforce those standards. From there, local committees were started. There were the early versions of BBB chapters. They investigated claims of false advertising and tried to get ads removed or changed. They would also consult with businesses and educate them on best practices. Over the next 60 years, the movement spread and chapters grew. In 1970, the National Vigilance Committee became the Council of Better Business Bureau. Eventually, its mission changed too. But before we get into that, I want to share good advertising with you. I want to thank the Roof Store for making this video possible. Contractors, you don't have to keep overpaying for materials. With the Roof Store, you can cut out the middleman and get great prices on nails, underlayment, shingles, and much, much more. You get free shipping on most bulk orders, and the Roof Store is the place you can buy Roofing Insights underlayment for about $40 a roll. Entire pallet will cost you about $2,200. I'll put a link below where you can place that order. Go to Roof Store to try them today. The BBB has come a long way since Samuel Dobbs. The mission isn't just about advertising anymore. It's to advance marketing trust. There are 3 ways it does this: accrediting businesses, rating businesses, and mediating customer complaints. Anyone can get accredited by paying a membership fee and agreeing to follow the Better Business standards of trust. Ratings are much more complicated. The BBB rates all businesses, not just accredited ones. They look at 7 factors to do this. You get points for each factor, and your total score is a grade from F to A. The rating system is what has gotten the BBB into trouble over the past 20 years. But the early 2000s, the BBB was a household name, and people were starting to accuse them of bias. Critics said firms who paid for BBB accreditation got higher ratings. This pay-to-play scandal came to a head in 2010. An ABC report exposed how easy it was to cheat the system.
Do you have to join the Better Business Bureau to get a good grade these days?
Absolutely not. We have more than 500,000 non-accredited businesses who have A ratings.
Better Business Bureau accreditation is by invitation only.
In fact, the Better Business Bureau says not just anyone can be an accredited member.
Only businesses which meet membership standards and agree to follow the highest principles of business ethics and voluntary self-regulation are accepted.
Yet earlier this year, the Mideast terror group Hamas was listed as a member and received an A- rating. Of course, it wasn't actually Hamas. It was the work of an anonymous blogger and a group of small business owners who punked the Better Business Bureau to prove a point. Hamas was registered with a non-existent address in Santa Monica, and its owner was listed as Bill Mitchell, the well-paid president of the Los Angeles Better Business Bureau.
The report wasn't just about how easy it is to get an A. They also showed how highly respected companies could end up with an F. That included Disneyland, the Ritz-Carlton, and Michelin star chef Wolfgang Puck.
You know, if you become a member, you're sure to get an A. But if you don't pay, it's very difficult to get an A. And I don't know what we do wrong or right. We're in business for 28 years.
After the ABC report came out, the Connecticut Attorney General opened an investigation. In the end, Richard Blumenthal said the rating system was potentially harmful to consumers. He called it a pay-to-play system. Under all that pressure, the BBB made changes to its ratings in 2010. They stopped awarding points for paid memberships, but the damage to its reputation was already done. Over the next few years, the lawsuits and investigations just keep coming. It didn't take long for the next controversy to break. In 2011, the Council of Better Business Bureau revoked their trademark from 4 Canadian offices. According to the BBB president, those offices failed to meet operational standards. Afterward, the Canadian Better Business Bureau was consolidated under American leadership. The closures and restructuring raised questions about whether the BBB could manage all of its offices, but that was just the beginning. The same year as the Canadian scandal, the New York Times exposed bias in the BBB's complaint process. They reported on a company called PC Drivers, which had over 300 complaints, included 100 refund issues. Despite that, the company had an A+ rating. The BBB said it was because of the company's size and the fact that there are resolved complaints. But a reporter found that PC Drivers could resolve complaints just by responding to them. They did not issue refunds to any of the 100 customers who asked. On top of that, the BBB was charging to mediate those complaints. These reports were damaging, but the next complaint against the BBB came from the court system. In 2012, Brookstone law firm sued the Southland BBB chapter. The lawsuit accused the BBB of operating like a mafia-like racket, using coercion and intimidation to extract fees from businesses. Brookstone said they were given an F rating and had their accreditation revoked after they refused to submit to a shakedown. The Better Business Bureau denied those allegations and the case was thrown out, but it brought up bigger problems for Southland branch. At the time, the BBB of Southland were the biggest local chapter. It had 17,000 members and gave out 14 million ratings. After the lawsuit, the national branch started investigating Southland. In 2013, they were kicked out. Afterward, a BBB spokesperson went on KNX 1070 News Radio to defend the decision. The host pointed out that this confirmed that Brookstone had been saying all along.
I mean, this is like the mob. You know, the mob going to a business saying, hey, pay us a little money, we'll make sure you're okay.
We can't talk about the specific allegations, and frankly, I don't think that characterization is fair. But we're a standards-based organization. We think it's very important that consumers, no matter where they are, no matter what kind of company they're doing business with, can trust that the Better Business Bureau seal means the same thing wherever they are.
Let me stop you right there, because if it was happening in Los Angeles, how do we know it wasn't happening or isn't happening in Arkansas or New York or Chicago or any place else?
We have a very thorough set of standards, including 67 different policies that local Better Business Bureaus need to meet, and we have an annual audit of each of those. Our standards are tough. We hold businesses to high standards, and we hold ourselves to high standards. And this is what happens if a local organization doesn't want to use those same set of standards. We say, can no longer be a Better Business Bureau.
Southland saga was another hit to the BBB's image. In some ways, it reinforced the idea that BBB could not keep the same standards across all of its organizations. One of the Brookstone law firm's main accusation was that the BBB was still making ratings based on memberships. That never got proven in court, and the Southland chapter was kicked out, but it left a bad taste in people's mouths. The next hit came in 2013, when CNN published a report on the Better Business Bureau's finances. It revealed how they were making over $200 million a year, mostly from membership fees. Businesses went on the record to talk about BBB's aggressive sales tactics. That included lying about web traffic to a company review page and pressuring them to sign up for more services after being accredited. The report also exposed how BBB directors around the country were paid six-figure salaries. One CEO made over $700,000 as the head of both Austin and national branches that year. In 2022, the top paid CEO was in Washington, D.C. with almost $500,000. Total revenue for the Better Business Bureau was estimated to be $5.5 billion last year. Even with all its scandals, many people don't understand how Better Business Bureau actually works. So in this last section, we are going to cover the biggest BBB myths. Number one is that Better Business Bureau is a single organization. In reality, every local chapter is independent. Each office has its own board of directors. They are all rate businesses and collect their own membership fees. In theory, every office follows the same standards, but it's not a guarantee. Another myth is that BBB is a government organization. They are not, and they have no enforcement power. If you've been scammed, it's the best to report that to your local police, state authorities, or the FTC. Finally, there's a myth that the BBB is a charity. The truth is, it's a business league promoting business interest. The IRS categorizes BBB offices as a 501c6 nonprofits. That's the same as a chamber of commerce or trades association. 501c6 nonprofit doesn't exist to serve the general public. They exist to serve the interest of their members. And in this case, their members are accredited businesses. That means the Better Business Bureau isn't a consumer watchdog, even though its mission statement mentions consumers. In fact, they even admitted they weren't in a blog post from 2011. That doesn't mean BBB ratings and reviews aren't helpful to consumers, but it's not the reason they exist. So with all of that said, it's time to answer the final question. Can you trust the Better Business Bureau? The BBB has tried to change some of its practices and restore trust after all these scandals. For example, they stopped looking at whether a business pays for BBB membership when rating them, at least officially. On the other hand, the approach to consumer complaints hasn't changed much. They do look whether a business responds to complaints within a few weeks. But the business doesn't have to fix the customer concerns to resolve it. The BBB also doesn't look at reviews when rating a business. They only look at complaints. This can be confusing as a consumer. Another issue is that reviews and complaints get removed after 3 years. As a consumer, that might hide. And finally, the BBB only takes into account government lawsuits. So if Minnesota Attorney General sues a company, that will most likely lower their BBB score. But if a private citizen does, or 10 private citizens, that doesn't matter. With all that in mind, as a consumer, the BBB should not be your only source of information. My advice, pay more attention to reviews than a Better Business Bureau grade, and look at other review website services too. Let me know if you learned something in the comments below, and make sure to like and subscribe to see all our videos. Comment below if you have any questions, or if you're looking for a contractor or service provider, we might have a recommendation for you. I answer all my questions in comments. I'll see you guys in the next video.